I showed this car off very briefly in the videos I made about the Civic, but of course, it's time to give it a proper introduction. What I have here is my daily driver, my 2015 Honda Fit LX 6-speed. For those of you who are familiar with these cars, the 3rd gen USDM Fits were only sold in one configuration, the GK5. Meaning it has the 1.5 liter L15B1 4-cylinder and front-wheel drive. This one, as you can see, is the Mystic Yellow Pearl, and one of the few modifications that I have on here is these, I think these are 16 by 6.5 or 7, I forget exactly which, Sparco Terras. I got a set of black lug nuts all the way around so that it blends in much nicer with the wheels. Of course, these are OEM Honda parts that are available on certain models, like for brand new ones, the Accords. A few of the Civics had them, I think. And so I was able to just save those up from doing pre-delivery inspections over the past few months. Still have a few left over, gave a few of them away to one of my coworkers who up until recently had a Type R. But, yeah. Of course, as you can tell by the sticker there, it is a 6-speed. And I also have a vanity plate. Chaos Sphere, which, above all else, that would be a reference to, of course, one of my favorite bands, the Swedish metal band Meshuggah. Chaos Sphere being my favorite album of theirs. Plus, I think it's a fitting name for this little thing. You know, it's small, roundish, and these things love to corner hard. It's kind of dorky, but I like it. The only other real noteworthy modification I have is this. That is an HKS silent high power axle back exhaust. Has a bit of a deeper tone to it without being too loud at low speeds. I don't really have any other modifications planned at this particular time. I might eventually decide to get the Progress rear sway bar. Oh wait, one other thing I do plan on doing is I have a set of fog lights that I'm going to fit, but because this is an LX, the wiring harness is different, so I'm probably going to have to create a custom setup for it. I can get the pigtails, I can run a relay, connect that to the low beams, and yeah, draw power from that into the control side, and then connect the load side of it directly to 12 volts, so that it works only when the low beams are on, you know, so that's still legal, without having to rig up a whole set of custom wiring. Of course, it is a 6-speed, like I said, LX, so base model radio. It's got 95,572 miles. It had, I think, 88,000. How many? Is it on the registration? Perhaps it's on the title? I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna guess it had about 88,000 when I got it, and that was back in April. Of course, I haven't been driving this car exclusively as a daily. I've been splitting it with my 2006 Accord, which is currently laid up right now as it needs a Bank 2 Cat, which that's not cheap. I gotta set aside the money for that. But that aside, I love these little cars. I've been wanting one of these for a couple years prior to buying this one, but they were always a bit expensive. The Fits are definitely the most expensive of all the subcompact hatches, and it reflects in what people want for them. That being said, I think it's the best quality hatch of the subcompact hatches because it's the most fun to drive. It has cargo space galore. Of course, Honda's magic seats are pretty famous. You can set these up in a number of ways. Yep, you can fold that side down and get it relatively flat and use it as a bed if need be. It's got a lot of cargo space. I just have my little emergency tools here right now. Even an air compressor down here. Should probably tuck that away a bit, you know, in case I ever have to. I used to do roadside assistance, so I keep stuff like this in case I ever encounter somebody, you know, at the side of the road who needs some help. I'm gonna get that to sit a bit more flush, but I'll worry about that later. Still keep a 2-gallon jerry can in here just in case. I don't know why I have my torque wrench in here. Of course, the snow brush, one of my jumper packs. I have 2 of them, but yeah. Just noticed that little peel here sticker. That's like the kind you get like on the cords that have the 19-inch rims. Let's give you guys a peek under the hood. Of course, under here we have the L15B1 4-cylinder. Said 1.5 twin cam with direct injection. These make about 130 horsepower and I think about 108, 109 foot-pounds of torque. Pretty easy to maintain. Your oil access here. The transmission, I believe you fill it from underneath. Batteries right up here. Coolant is nice and easy to access. Brake and clutch fluid share a reservoir. Air filter is right here. Belt is down here. That belt looks like it needs to be changed. I'm going to be doing that soon anyway. Got new spark plugs on order as well. These L15B1s are pretty solid, although of course they can be a bit unreliable if you don't drive them very often or you just baby them. This is a very common thing I see since I live not too far from Washington, D.C. You know, you get a lot of these which are driven very low miles. Mine at about 100,000 is one of the higher mileage ones. Most of them, the ones we get at the dealership, have less than 40,000. But those, they're very prone to getting carbon built up on the intake valves, and there's actually a special machine where you take the intake off and you actually walnut blast them. I should probably pull this funnel off sometime soon and check it on my car. Since I work at the dealership, it doesn't cost me anything to do. I'll probably film that once I do. You know, at least give you guys a before and after, give you an idea of how it works. See the slave cylinder peeking out down here. Of course, I've still got to figure out what I'm going to do as far as the wiring goes exactly. I think my idea will work, and I can just tweak the fuse box slightly to make it and run one of those switches down here up on the dash. Another thing I'd actually like to do is maybe wire in a set of rally lights at some point. I think that would look cool, but it really depends. Probably not if I can get these fog lights working. The ones I have are OEM Honda. I got them off of another Fit. And these cars, it is a subcompact, so of course refinement isn't going to be as good as you would expect, but overall the interior is nice and simple. I sound a bit rambly, but, well, actually I guess that is generally what I do. I like to ramble. These cars overall are pretty simple. You know, simple hood latch and mechanical release for the fuel pump. Another thing that I really like that most modern cars don't do, hell, even the post-facelifted Fits don't do this, is this. It's an actual physical release for the hatch. Same thing for like trunks. For most of these, it's actuated only through a solenoid, and the only mechanical release will be the child safety lock. Which, to me, I don't like that at all. Like climate control, same thing. You've got the 3 knobs, you know. How hot do you want it? How hard do you want it? Where do you want it? Your AC switch, your rear defrost, your outside and recirculate. All that is nice and simple. I think it's a thing of beauty. The stock radio works alright-ish. One thing I do wish they would do is they would give you the ability to turn off autoplay, but then again, it seems like that's kind of hard to find. I know most radios, period. All the aftermarket ones I had, they wouldn't do that either. My mom has a 2015 CRV, hers does the same thing. It's a nuisance, but they're all nuisances. One of the few things that I don't like is this little economy gauge here. They could have they really should have put an actual temperature gauge. Instead, you know, they just have one of those idiot lights where it pops blue when it's cold and red when it's hot. But, you know, give me a gauge. Hell, like in this space here, they could have put a temperature gauge. For all. The radio works well enough. Will this even work? Nope. Huh. I'm kind of surprised that actually does work when we have when I have the camera on. But yeah, you can hear that. Sounds pretty good, you know. It's of course not perfect, since, you know, it is a subcompact hatchback, but at the same time, it's well enough. It allows me to hear it well enough at highway speeds, even with the windows down. I don't really like using AC, but yeah. I would like to replace these speakers eventually, but they used one of those stupid little proprietary things where it just bolts in like through one bolt, as opposed to like the 4 or whatever. It'd be easier to show like a picture of it at some point. Maybe I'll splice one in later on. Yeah, but overall, got down here your cigarette lighter, got a USB port, an aux jack, the e-brake, nice mechanical one, got your other USB port down here, some miscellaneous stuff in here. Forgot, is there another USB port in here? I don't know. Or is it just the one? Just trying to show it for the sake of being informative, because obviously I don't really use that one. I just have everything playing through Bluetooth. But yeah. Of course, I've got this phone mount here that goes inside the CD tray, because I don't use CDs. Hardly anyone does anymore. See, the back seat is also very roomy. I tend to have the seat pretty far forward. My friend Raul says I have the seating position of an old lady. But lots of room. Seats are pretty comfortable. It is still a subcompact, but I would but it's a very well engineered one. Honda definitely did the best they could with what they had. Here, granted, this is look at how much legroom there is. Granted, this is a bit misleading since I have the seat kind of far forward. I occasionally do Uber and Lyft to make a bit of extra money. So, that's why that's like that. Of course, I've got a couple cords here for any passengers that want it. This trash bag that I keep up here as well. But, yeah. Let's go back over here to where I have a more reasonable seating position, I guess what most people would use. And of course I'm only 5'8", so I'm a bit on the short side, but even then there's still a lot. And if you look over here, there's a fair amount of headroom as well. Again, I'm short, but it's definitely workable. One of the things I wish they did was that, this center portion here would fold down into a little armrest, but you can't win them all. It is what it is. And I've got these Honda floor mats here. These are the actual OEM Honda ones. These aren't bad, but in hindsight, I would have just went ahead and bought a set of WeatherTech ones. Those, they go over this little hump. It's definitely better overall than the factory ones. That being said, the trunk one that you saw earlier was pretty good. Also got the little cargo divider, so thieves can't see what I have in the trunk, or hatch, I guess. There isn't too much to show. Got a bit of junk here because, of course, I was going to pick up some other things. I bought this external microphone in case I needed it. Although, I found it was easier just to take this this case I usually have on here off. It has one of these, screen protector things on it, and it covers up the microphone so everything sounds muffled. It's a bit impractical, especially since the screen on this thing is kind of fragile. I've already cracked it in a couple of places, and I need to get that replaced. But it is what it is. I'll have to look around and find another case where it doesn't cover up the microphone as much. That's why I haven't posted any videos in a couple of weeks. Because I tried to film a couple, but I didn't realize until after the fact that the audio sounded like garbage.